Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Pundits podcast. I am somewhat joined by my co-host Evan. Hello Ev.
Hola from sunny Bournemouth, people.
Yes. So obviously we've got to make do with what we got when Ev's working and I'm back home. So we're doing it, sort of trying to get it configured through telephones and mics and all. So let us know if you think it goes okay. Bit of housekeeping. All the timestamps will be down below in the description. So if you want to skip to a particular part, you can make sure you go down below and do that. While you're down there, make sure you drop us a like, drop us a sub, hit the share button, share it around to all your friends. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you give us a follow, drop us a rating, preferably 5 stars. Let's get into it. So, Ev, I know you wanted a bit of a cathartic release in terms of the football this week.
Yes, therapist Nath, can you just tell the people what happened before we get into it, just so I don't explode already on the on what I witnessed? So
I think what Ev is referring to is a very un-Man United defeat to Crystal Palace this week. So they lost 3-1 to Palace. Do you want to talk us through, Ev, as a United fan, what you think the problems were and what happened essentially on the night?
To be honest, mate, there's not much that went right, if I'm honest, with Man United. It was abysmal. There was no shape. There was a lack of creativity. There was a lack of management, lack of leadership. Woeful at the back, it was
pretty bad at the back.
Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Victor Lindelof, get out of the defence. You're shocking. You're not a Premier League centre back at this point. It's if people still want to play him, I get that. If like a lower team wants to play for him, but he's not Man United quality. He should not be playing at this level. Like, he is not good enough. He made so many mistakes, and the other guy next to him, who's supposedly our £80 million centre back. What do we buy?
Yeah, it was. I would say very weak at the back from United. They did have some things that maybe people would say a bit unlucky, but I think it all boils down to you've got Pogba, who was very quiet. He's capable of doing these amazing things that he just didn't do on the day, and then they're just very weak at the back. Palace has attacked. United's back three just made Palace look good, really.
Listen, yeah, they came with a game plan. Roy Hodgson knew what the game plan was. He knew that United were going to be loose at the back and they were going to play a certain kind of way. And Zaha, Ayew, and Jeffrey Schlupp, he used to play left back, destroyed us. Absolutely, made them look like schoolboy defenders, if I'm honest. And that was the beginning of the problems. I mean, when the team sheets came out and you saw Fosu Mensah at right back instead of Wan-Bissaka, you're a bit like, oh, okay, maybe that could work. Fosu Mensah's not a bad player. He's not great, but He
actually didn't play that bad, Fosu Mensah. He was pretty. He was probably the best out of the defenders, probably, for me. Yeah,
the problem is that when you've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's one-on-one one of the best defensive right backs in the league, I don't care how fit he is, unless he's carrying a major injury, he's starting every game. There's no question about it. And then, Lindelof, you get that. I mean, De Gea, I love the guy. Well, I love what he used to be, but now he's turning into a Spanish Pickford. He's even copied his hair. Luke Shaw's, he's all right. I mean, he's not bad. He's not great. He just floats about in the middle, really. He's a bit of plankton, if I'm honest. McTominay, he's got potential, but he's not the answer in that midfield. He's not that grit that we need. Pogba's good with the ball at his feet, but then he wasn't
good against Palace, mate. In my opinion, he was very muted compared to what we know he's capable of.
But that's as soon as you got past McTominay, there was no real flair or creativity. Everyone was just loose. Everyone was, way too careless with the ball, especially, like the people that you look to when you're going forward in Pogba and Bruno to set everything up. They were just careless with it, and then there's no one to recover because Matic isn't there to sweep up the pieces like he normally is.
I don't think Bruno was that bad. I think he can probably say, yeah, I had an all right game, but apart from that, I wasn't very impressed. And I got another close mate who's a big United fan, and I texted him and said, what do you think? And he said, United didn't deserve anything more than a 3-1 loss in that game. They didn't do anything to show that they deserved anything more than that.
No, and unfortunately, as much as I've come to accept that right now Ollie is our manager, it does start from him that, that there's no real tactics outside of playing on the counter. When it gets to, we're good at building up to the final third, and then when it gets to the final third and you say, right, go on, beat a man, there's not really... There's nothing there at the moment. Like, I know it's one game and we shouldn't overreact, but it's worrying when you're getting beat and manhandled by Palace like this, who really could have won by more, if I'm honest.
And let's be honest as well, coming off what the second half of what, let's forget about the first half of last year's Premier League. The second half of last year's Premier League was actually really good for United, and to go from where they were literally a couple of weeks ago to that, it's a big shock.
We finished off the season well. It was great. We made it to 3 semi-finals, but the problem is we lost every single one of those semi-finals at the same time. It was great how we played at the end of the season, but that's meant to be a building block into this season, and it's not a good start. Let's put it that way. But another guy I want to bring up, Dan James, I love the kid, he's Welsh, everyone wants to see him do well on the right wing, but he's so one-dimensional that he's just going to try and knock it past you and use his speed. All he's going to do is use his speed. Outside of that, he's devoid of any real creativity down that right-hand side. And Rashford, listen, please stop taking pop shots from 30 yards, because you scored one or two from outside the box. Working in with Martial, when you two were playing your little 1-2s and intricate passing around the box, it's phenomenal. But
I think one thing you can notice was Martial looked quite frustrated because nobody could release him. Like you said, there's all these stupid little passes, just like you said, being careless with the ball. When really, if they could have just released Martial, he's got a great goal scoring potential. So I think you could tell he was very frustrated.
Oh mate, he does cut a very frustrated figure, but that's the problem. When he's down, we need him to, just show some oomph and some drive. That's my only knock on him, is that when it goes bad, he just puts his head down and he's like, oh well, kind of F this, I'm out, in a way. How can they fix it? Who knows? I mean, there's
announce Jadon Sancho would be a start.
No, it wouldn't, because that papers over the cracks in a way. That just masks what is a really shaky defence and a really, really shaky setup that is... It's crumbling if it carries on like this.
I know speaking to you and your dad, you both said United need to shore up their defence. I know you said your striker's great. That's going to be, somebody with real goal scoring talent is good. They need that as well. But they really need something to shore up that defence.
Well, you look at the end of last season, one of the most potent front threes in the world was Mason, Martial and Rashford. When they're working together, they're working fantastic. But when you're conceding goals like we were yesterday, how can you keep them out? How can you justify spending more 100 million on an attacker when you spent, God knows, probably over 200 million on a defence that's weak?
Yeah.
Lindelof's all over the shop. He's going to ground for no reason half the time. He's misplacing headers. He's playing terrible back passes. I think Maguire as well. Like Lindelof, if De Gea isn't out of his goal to collect the ball, he's played in Zaha and we're 2-0 down in the first half.
Yeah, and really Zaha could have got that. If he'd just not pulled out, he probably would have scored. I know he pulled out because he didn't want to overcommit and end up in a sticky situation, but there was a real chance that he could have scored that, and that was just very poor defensively from Lindelof.
Yeah, so the rumours of Upamecano coming in from Leipzig would be a good start. They're talking about Tellez, but I don't know. I mean, the Spurs have just signed Reguilon from Real Madrid, who he was rumoured to be a target. So, there's options out there, but we need signings quickly. Otherwise, in his current form, we are not a top 4 team.
And I think, I remember when we were having a chat about this, I said, I think United could be, if they play like they did at the back end of last season, they could, a bit like Chelsea, I said, if it gels and it works, they could be a problem. But at the moment, they don't look like a problem team at all. Not even remotely like a problem team.
They're more of a problem to themselves than they are to any other team right now. Bright spot though. I don't want to be all negative because I still love the club and everything, and I want to see him do well. I'm just making suggestions. But Donny van der Beek came on.
Yeah, good to get a goal on debut.
Good to get a goal. He looked good with the ball at his feet. He's passing it around like he did at Ajax. He looks like when it starts clicking with the team and they all start gelling and they start flourishing, they'll smash it. But right now it's a bit worrying. But I'm gonna. That was nice to release from yesterday. So now it's out of my system.
The catharsis.
Exactly, mate. It's done.
Shall we have a bit of a chat about Everton?
Yes, finally, they've got a team. They've got
Dominic Calvert-Lewin with a hat trick.
Mate, he's developing into quite the little striker right now.
Yeah, mate, he's looking really good.
Carlo Ancelotti's got him humming right now.
They're playing they look really good.
Different level than what anyone expected they would right now. I think people, thought they'd do alright, but I don't think many people saw this coming,
No, I think the Calvert-Lewin, Rodriguez and Richarlison little combo trio thing they got going on is working really well. Richarlison with 3 assists, Calvert-Lewin with a hat trick, and James Rodriguez with a stunner of a goal. They are looking really good.
Yeah, it's going really well for them, and I think they'll just carry on going from here, onwards and upwards. If I'm honest, they don't look like slowing down. I do want to give a good mention to some of the West Brom players. I know I've written them off completely. I still am writing them off. By the way, there's no question about that. I still think they're going down. But Diangana, West Ham fans are going to be punching every wall right now because they had him and they've sold him for 20 mil when they could really use a player who's exactly like him.
Absolutely stunning goal from him.
Well, here's the thing. We say stunning. It was a great little run by the young man, but at the same time, Everton's defending is woeful.
I would say it was a great strike, but only because there was nobody around him. He had all the time in the world.
Yeah, to be fair, he's picked it up 10 yards inside his own half, and fair play to the Everton defenders. That should be the poster for social distancing, because until he's taken the shot, no one's gotten within 6 foot of him. At least at some points, I don't think there was a guy within 5 yards of him. When he was running, they were just watching him oh, nice one, good run.
And then he had all the time in the world and took a shot, and it was a cracking strike, and it was a great goal.
But Everton's signings look like the real deal. Allen in midfield has just shored up what they've been missing, that they haven't had for years, really. Probably since the good old days of when they used to actually play well with Leon Osman, people like that in midfield. And they haven't really had a great defence since Moisey left, and they still haven't really got. Jordan Pickford is Jordan Pickford. The guy basically doesn't have arms sometimes. I mean, I know I've slated him a lot, so I think I'll let him off this week. Actually, I won't, because the free kick, absolute banger, but Pickford's dived across and he's just jumped with no arms. He's literally just jumped across okay, at least put an arm out and make an attempt at it, even if you're not going to get it.
It's gone downhill since the heydays, really, isn't he, Jordan Pickford?
I mean, he had a few good games at Sunderland, and then since then, he's really just not progressed like everyone wanted to. How is he number one for England when you've got, Nick Pope sitting there? He must be thinking, what the fuck what have I done? Like, who was Jordan Pickford got photos on? Like, seriously, he's... but on the positives for Everton, James Rodriguez we knew he was going to be quality. He looks like Carlo Ancelotti was the reason, he had him at Bayern. Quality signing. Even if it is just a loan, who knows what they'll do with him, obviously Allen in midfield looks quality, so I think they could make a genuine top 6 push this year, especially with like the likes of some of the other teams not looking so confident right now,
to say the least.
So yeah, well done to the Toffees.
That kind of brings us on, like you said, some of the teams not looking so confident. Chelsea, walk us through, Ev.
Okay, this is another rant incoming, because 200 odd million spent, and I know they're missing 3 of those signings, but the rest of the team today just looks like it's cobbled together. It looks like his name's on a sheet right now. Some of the I suppose Frank's going for like these things, trying to work the players in, but he needs a more stable situation, because they looked out with their depth against Liverpool at times. I know they got a red card, but Liverpool looked a more cohesive unit throughout. And it's, I don't know. What are your thoughts on?
It looked like even some probably before the red card, it would be they clear it and then Liverpool would be back in goal scoring areas again. Then they clear it and then within 40 seconds they'd be back there looking to score again, and that was literally what happened the whole game. And apart from a couple of little breaks from Havertz and Werner, there was nothing for Chelsea. It really was nothing. There was nothing going on.
No, I know the red card, which was an obvious red card. I don't like Liverpool, but that was a red card. Christensen has just tackled him without the ball, and you can't defend that. But at the same time, Timo Werner, mate, it's time to talk Timo for a second, right? You need to find your shooting boots, and you need to find them quickly, because this Chelsea striker position has been vacant for a while, and they need a saviour. They thought it might have been Alvaro Morata. They haven't had anyone really since Drogba who can really lay claim to, the fabled striker. And you need to find your shooting boots quickly, son, because some of the stuff that we saw today, Nath, and I'm sure, even as you're not the biggest football fan, you could appreciate how bad some of this finishing or lack thereof was from him.
They just never looked like they were going to score. I can't think of one point in the game where they really looked like they were, going to score penalty with any sort of conviction. Yeah, I know you mentioned the penalty, but again, the entire rest of the game, there was nothing going on at Chelsea. It was, after I sung their praises last week, I said if the team gels, they could really be contenders. But the team, something obviously hasn't got. I think one of the somebody mentioned, give them till Christmas, and they probably could end up gelling quite well. But I think it was you said, Ev, with City and Liverpool firing on all cylinders, that's just not. It's not enough time. They don't have that kind of time.
Exactly, it's a great point that there's having time to gel as a team with all these signings, and there's having new signings and needing to perform instantly, which is a hard. It's a hard thing to overcome when this, City and Liverpool are just, like I said, they're just cohesive units. They've been together for a while. They rarely make mistakes. I know City had a terrible year last year, but the last few years have been amazing. So you've got to balance it. But I think this has been my issue with them. They've kind of. They've spent a lot of money, and I know they've got 3 of their players out. Ziyech's injured. I know Ben Chilwell's back in training. Thiago Silva's coming back, but Pulisic is injured. Yeah, I think that's actually a big miss. I think the front 3 of Pulisic, Ziyech, and Werner could come good at some point. But I think they've gone for some good signings, and I think they've just tried to cobble it all together. And when you mishmash a team like that a week before the season, chances are you don't normally start that well. because people need to learn the language, the system, if there's a system, who knows with Frank, but I think they'll get there. So I'm going to reserve the right here and now until Christmas to, before I really go in and say that's it, they're done, they're finished, Frank out,
Yeah.
I'll wait till then.
But one thing I will say is, I remember when your dad was on here, he was saying, in terms of Liverpool, they need something a bit more of a spark, a bit more creative in the midfield, and Thiago looked like he is perfectly ready to step up into that role.
Yeah, he looks like the piece that they need. Like I said in the video the other day, that's what they've been missing. And I know Henderson went off today. I don't know if he was injured or not, but if he is, Thiago's perfectly fit to fill in that void. If they want to replace Wijnaldum with Thiago, I think that's an easy replacement to be made. Or Naby Keita, they can push further up the field. It just opens them up a lot more. I thought Sadio Mane was man of the match.
Mane show today, mate. The Mane show. What an unreal game from him.
Mane is the perfect player in that Jurgen Klopp system. Like when Royce was playing, it's very similar. Like they had Lewandowski back then, who was a goal scorer, but he also linked up the play, which is what Firmino does, which is why I think Jota's a good signing for them, because Jota's not an out-and-out goal scorer per se, but he does bring a lot to the game in terms of an attacking sense as well. But I think Mane today in that Klopp system and that high press was just phenomenal.
Yeah,
and
definitely. When you got a finisher with the work rate of Mane, being a creative midfielder just becomes easy, really. When you got someone with the work rate like that, he will put in the hard graft to make your life a bit easier.
Yeah, that's what you need from the front, and that's paramount to all of Jurgen Klopp's success. And when he's done well with teams, is that's what they've done. So obviously we're it's just good to see football back, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think we'll just quickly gloss over the last few games. Arsenal with a little bit of a shaky win against West Ham. 2-1 they won. Exactly, wins a win. 2 for 2 for Arteta this season. Arsenal fans just want results. I don't think they really care right now how they get it, but they are looking better than what they were last season. I do think they got away with one a little bit, but can't fault them for getting their victory. Could be worse, could be United.
True.
So but yeah, so they obviously fight. They got 2 wins out of 2. So I think all Arsenal fans will rejoice, even if it wasn't the best performance that we've ever seen. Speaking of not the best performances, but coming out with a result, Jose Spurs, yet again.
Yeah, man. Kind of crazy. Southampton had such a good start to the game, and then Son just came out of nowhere, just went on a rampage, and he's world class. He's just unreal, mate.
Yeah, he is unbelievable, to be fair. I think he's I know Kane had a better day with his passing, which is what I've always said he needs to improve on. If he can get the distribution, I think when you bring Bale back into that team, it could be a scary front three if Son, Kane and Bale are all firing on all cylinders.
That is going to be a scary front three.
If Bale stays healthy, that could be a top 4 challenging front three right there. But I think Son for me is the most important piece out of all that, because when you see he does more than just score. He links up brilliantly. He comes in off the wing. He actually track. I know there was the whole thing last year when Laurie shouted him for not tracking back after losing the ball. But I think Son's quality.
A few good saves today from Lloris as well.
Yeah, he was a better performance from him. He's another one who's just inconsistent though.
Yeah.
So, it's... But, 5-2 against Southampton, big victory. Southampton didn't play bad for the first half. They were actually the better team, and Spurs were looking pretty shoddy. But then they just got railed by Kane and Son. So, good for them.
Yeah, mate.
Good to win.
It was good, man. Speaking of Spurs, mate, Dele Alli come out in the news today. He's been in the headlines.
Yeah, apparently he might be going to PSG, which is a bit of a madness. I mean, obviously Jose's made he hasn't hid that he wants he doesn't really see him as part of the team. I think, I think he's kind of on the periphery right now. But
yeah, do you think he would fit in at PSG though? Do you think that's the kind of team you'd want to see Dele Alli in?
I don't. I mean, personally, I've never rated Dele Alli as highly as PSG. I think he's, I think Tottenham is about his level. I think it could be good for him. So, because the worst that happens is you're a PSG player for a couple of years, but at least you've got the allure of playing for PSG
True,
now, and then you can just leave. Or worst case scenario, you win a Champions League, you're in a team with Neymar and Mbappe. I mean, why'd you turn it down, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So just to finish off with the football, Leicester just won 4-2. They're looking pretty good again.
Yeah.
Castagne, right back, looks quality. Dennis Pratt, Harvey Barnes, Leicester need to just do it for a whole season, which is what they didn't do last year, and they'll be a top 4 team, if I'm honest. And
Leeds Fulham.
Leeds almost leadsed it.
Yeah, well, they went from 4-1 to 4-3 in about 10 minutes.
Like Leeds just know how to, like, Bielsa can do squats for 60 minutes, but that's as soon as he gets up from that squat, that's when his team stops defending. By the looks of it, like they are the kings of throwing it away, but they didn't this time. They kept it up.
Really good. They looked really, really good, Leeds, I gotta say.
Again, they look good in parts, but they were playing Fulham, the newly promoted team.
Yeah, let's be honest, the team that pretty much every single person universally agrees are going down this year.
Yeah, this is going to be like the gimme for a lot of teams this year.
But we could be wrong. And speaking of getting it completely wrong, this segues us nicely into the NBA. We were all, Clippers are definitely going to win.
Well, I was definitely a bit more hesitant than you. I was trying to pose the thing of like, well, the Nuggets can do it. They came back from 3-1. You went all out saying that the Clips have got it. It's over. Yeah. It's an LA Conference Finals. Clips on the bandwagon, Nath.
Yeah, the egg has well and truly been on my face.
Yeah, the bubble has burst for them as well. And obviously, you can't see my face right now, but trim's looking a bit shoddy. But I ain't going my barbers, mate. I don't trust the Clippers right now. That joke's been flying about. I had to fit it in somewhere, but it was they were 3-1 up. They had 15-point leads in the last 3 games, and they lost.
That's just not good enough, mate. You don't deserve to make a conference final if you do that, mate.
Nah, when you've got the reigning defending finals MVP in Kawhi Leonard, you've got playoff George, or playoff P as he tries to call himself, and I saw Nick Wright.
He just wasn't good enough, mate.
I saw Nick Wright coin the nickname way off P because his shooting was, mate, he hit one off the side of the backboard. Like, it was one of the worst things I've ever seen in a playoff game. Yeah, Patrick Beverley, Russell Westbrook was right. He does trick everyone in the media saying he plays great defense. No, he just runs about, barks a lot, makes a lot of noise. The guy's crap. Okay, he does one thing. He gets in people's faces. He's a bit, touchy feely and stuff. But he doesn't do. He's so one dimensional. But that was the Clips. They were made to beat the Lakers with the wing defending, the 3-point shooting, get the point guards that can defend 1 through 5 really, all these other positions, and they've stumbled before they've even got there, and they continue the streak, the longest streak in any sport in America, that they haven't made a conference finals in 50 odd years. Yeah, so.
Wow. Well, they had the perfect chance this year, and they completely threw it away. So,
yeah. So that's that could be it for the. Well, that won't be it for them, but it's a bit worrying. So anyway, the Nuggets, fair play to them. Nikola Jokic looked like the best player in that whole series.
Yeah, man, and they didn't look horrible against the Lakers in Game 1 either. I know the Lakers ended up sort of strolling away with it towards the end. Yeah, but the first 2 quarters they didn't look terrible.
No,
obviously, I mean it's pretty easy to look bad against LeBron and AD.
Yeah,
but they sort of held their own for the first 2 quarters, and then they sort of fell off a bit after that.
Yeah, AD had a phenomenal game.
Mate, LeBron too, actually.
Yeah, LeBron's loving playing against AD. AD's probably the best player he's played with, maybe ever. Maybe over Dwayne Wade. I'm not sure. I don't want to go out that, but I think in the way that LeBron wants to play now, he had 15, 6, and 12, which, 12 assists at his age is amazing, but he's embracing that floor general role. He doesn't have to score 30, 40 points for them to win a game like he used to in Cleveland or points in Miami. He's got AD, who's a beast. He's a beast. 37, 10, and 4 in 32 minutes of a playoff game is huge.
That is big numbers.
And they had 3 turnovers apiece, but the most impressive thing from the Lakers was probably their defense. They're switching, they're going over, fighting over screens. They've got rim protection. The worst matchup for the Nuggets is probably the Lakers.
Yeah,
because they've got rim protection. And the Nuggets definitely don't. They can guard.
Well, you say, you're definitely right, because LeBron and Anthony Davis are just having a field day, just dropping style points on everyone.
Yeah, and obviously everyone knows how good they are, but I think one of the biggest and most important things was Rajon Rondo coming back and being cleared to play, because when LeBron goes and sits to the bench, you've then got another floor general, an elder statesman in Rajon Rondo who can come on. We know Rajon Rondo doesn't shoot. It's not his game. He doesn't shoot. He'll stand they'll sag off him because they know he's not going to shoot. But he comes on, he commands, he runs the offense. When LeBron's sitting, the bench is on, and that's where they're going to start. And this is where I think, looking at the 4 teams left, Lakers, Nuggets, Heat, and Celtics, I think the only team the Lakers don't want to play right now are the Heat. If I'm honest, I think the other 2 teams, they can deal with everything that they bring to the table.
They fearing Jimmy Buckets,
but Jimmy Buckets and that Heat team, man, they dogs. I've said it the whole time. They dogs. Like, they just get on. They just get on the defense. They stick in. I mean, they've been very wayward with their shooting so far, apart from Tyler Hero's emerging. But we'll get on to them in a sec. So yeah, Lakers 1-0 up. I think, if I'm honest, I'm going to say gentleman's sweep 4-1. They won't quite sweep them. Maybe push it to a game 6, but I'm going in 5. Lakers in 5. They've won every other game in 5. So let's go with that. What about you?
Yeah, I can't see. I don't think the Nuggets have got enough about them to overcome the dominant partnership of LeBron and AD, so I would agree totally with that.
Yeah, nice.
In 5. Because it's like you said, the Nuggets are a good team. They've made it this far, but you've really got the only team that had something that special about them to be able to topple the Lakers, really, were the Clippers, and they just it in when they had every opportunity to seal the deal early on. They didn't have to take it to game 7. They could have had it done inside 5 games.
Exactly. It's all well and good being built to beat one team, but you got to meet that team to beat that team.
Exactly, mate. And the thing is as well, like you said, Kawhi Leonard and the Paul George and the Lou Williams and all that, they would have. It would have been a great series, but like you said, you can't look forward to a series that think that'll be a great series. And like I did it last week, and then they have to get there first.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think you're right. Lakers in 5, because the Nuggets just don't have they rely too much on Jokic
but Nikola Jokic is fantastic. But when you've got the thing is, the Lakers, like I said, with the Clippers, all they've got is Ivan Zubac, who's a good player offensively, who they got from the Lakers, but he's no presence on the inside. Marcus Morris is their best rim protector. He's good, but he's he's not big enough to guard Nikola Jokic, who's a 7 foot plus person who can handle the ball, can pass and assist, and that's what really did them. His extra pass in the 2-man game of Jokic and Jamal Murray was phenomenal. But there we go. So they shagged it, but stuff happens. On the other side, though, Miami.
You said it, bro.
I told you, mate.
You said it from episode 1, my man, or episode 2, whenever we did the first basketball segment.
Yep. I predicted them to make the conference finals, and they're 2-1 up at the moment.
Your predictions go better than mine, it seems.
Yeah, well, we'll leave that. We'll leave that out there. But yeah, no. If I tell you what, if anyone wants to watch a play, Magic Johnson coined it the best defensive play in the playoffs he's ever seen, and that's Bam Adebayo's block in overtime on Jason Tatum. It was unbelievable. Like, the thing is, if he goes with his right hand, which is his dominant hand, he fouls. Tatum goes to the line with a chance to tie the game. So what he does instead is he uses his left hand, times it perfectly, and his hand, when you watch, there's a slow-mo where his wrist is like bent all the way back into the rim almost, like into the hoop, and he blocks Tatum, gets a technical foul, goes and shoots a free throw, and the Heat take it. But they were down big. They've been down big in every game, so it's a bit concerning. So I might not be 100% correct right now with how it's going to end, but they're looking all right.
Yeah, because Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they have looked sick the whole playoffs so far. So you cannot count them out. That combo, you just can't count the Celtics out. No.
And yeah, they exactly. They've been playing phenomenal basketball. So I think they could get it, the Celtics. But now they won last night, and they dominated, if anything.
Yeah, like you said, 2-1. 2-1. Just look at the Nuggets, bro.
Exactly. This is why I'm not getting.
Only 2-1.
I'm not getting too overzealous. I'm not going to say Heat Lakers yet, and I'm not going to say it yet, but that would still be my pick. It was my pick since round 2, I think I said, but because I didn't trust the Bucks. But Miami need to just stick to what they know, defend, points in the paint where the Celtics are quite weak. Contain Jason Tatum as best you can, because you're not going to he's one of those players, you can't stop him, you can only contain him. Do your best there, and you can take this in 6. I want to say Heat in 6. Yeah. What about you?
I can go with that. I can roll with that.
Nice. So, now going to another continent.
The slip cordon's back open, mate. We're going to saunter over and examine some IPL.
And to Dubai, nevertheless,
Yeah, man.
Out of all the places,
so,
you got Yas.
The opening game.
Yeah.
CSK with a kind of nail-biting win over the Mumbai Indians. Obviously, CSK being my team.
I was going to say your
as
team.
They have been since the very first IPL.
Well, yeah, but you've got a special connection to them.
Yeah, mate. My family, my dad's side of the family is all from Chennai. Yep. One of my cousins played for the CSK in the very first IPL for one season.
Yeah.
And I've supported CSK ever since. So
love it.
Yeah, it was a good win for CSK. They needed a win against a big team like Mumbai Indians. So obviously there's been a big rivalry against those two in the past. In fact, I'm pretty sure if you can validate that ever, the very first IPL final was CSK versus Mumbai Indians in the final.
Yep, and I think they've faced off 2 other times, maybe.
Yeah, they have. They have faced off a couple of other times.
Because I know there was one where there was that amazing game where Chennai batted first and they collapsed, and then it was like, okay, Mumbai's going to walk it, and then they collapsed.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah,
like they both. It was like, does anyone want to win it?
But Sam Curran, in his debut game for CSK, had a fantastic performance. So it was good to see Sam Curran with a decent performance with bat and ball. I think he took 1 wicket, and he hit a very useful little cameo at the end. CSK, a very rocky start with the bat, so they were chasing, I think 162 they were chasing, and CSK lost both their openers in the first 2 overs. So Murali Vijay and Shane Watson, 2 big names, both gone for single digits, which is not what you want in a T20 game. But Faf du Plessis and Raidu, they both hit 50s, which was big. you need players to perform like that in T20. You just haven't got the time to muck about in T20. So you've just gotta perform, and
that's why it gets exciting because that's
definitely
that's where
Sam Curran came in with a little 18 off 6 to seal the deal.
Nice little cameo.
They still needed like 42 off like 20 something balls, I think. So it was a big one. And it's they have some great bowlers. Mumbai, like they probably have the best death bowler in the world in Jasprit Bumrah, and it's a big win for CSK. I can't understate how much of a big win it was. Trent Bolt, Bumrah, that is some big bowlers that you've got to overcome. So I think good confidence boost for CSK.
Keelan Pollard as well. They got a good team. Mumbai's got a great team. Looking at it.
Yeah, man.
Hardik Pandya as well.
Good bowling performance from Ngidi as well, the young South African.
So if you had to take a pick of who you think is going to win it this year, who would be your
CSK, mate? I'm going in right now. CSK. We're going in.
He's going for the hometown.
You've always supported Mumbai Indians, haven't you?
I've always rooted for them. I've always been they've always had a little soft spot in my heart. I won't lie. But I think this is going to be Kohli's time. I think Bangalore's going to do it this year.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think they've got a great team, and they look very solid. With Kohli, De Villiers, Finch as well.
I thought, mate, that Kobe, De Villiers and Finch is a disgusting batting lineup. Like, it really is disgusting.
It shouldn't be allowed, with
mate.
The bowling as well.
Yeah, mate,
they've got a good...
You've definitely got... RCB have got a shout, mate.
Yeah, I think those are the three, though, that you'd look at, wouldn't you?
Mate, Finch and De Villiers are probably... Like, those two, Chris Gale... who else? There's a couple. MS Dhoni. They're probably the best T20 limited overs batsman in the world, and to have three of them in the same team, it's just not fair, mate. There should be rules, mate. That shouldn't be allowed. Speaking of Chris Gale, Super Over, the Delhi Capitals won in a Super Over against the Kings 11 Punjab.
Used to be Daredevils, didn't it?
Yes, it used to be the Delhi Daredevils, but not anymore.
No.
And they actually won in a Super Over against Kings 11 Punjab. And
very rare to see a Super Over.
Well, yeah, and the fact that they weren't playing Chris Gale. Like, of all the times where you're not playing Chris Gale, the game where you have a Super Over is probably the worst time to not have Chris Gale on your team.
I mean, let's be honest. Chris Gale's game is a Super Over, if anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
At this stage of his career, his innings are Super Overs, if I'm honest.
I think as well, worrying for Delhi was... I think Ravichandran Ashwin went off with a shoulder injury, which is a big blow for them because he is an absolutely outstanding bowler, and he would really be quite integral to their chances. But Marcus Stoinis with a couple of wickets, Rabada with a couple of wickets, Ashwin with 2 before he went off. But I mean, Super Overs, like you said, exceedingly rare, and I still think that you would always peg a team with Chris Gale in it to win in a Super Over. Like, don't get me wrong, Delhi have some great batsmen, but I would always have pegged Kings 11 to win that.
So that's I think that's it for the week, isn't it? A very short week. I know there was all the obviously other sports, but we wanted to keep it a little short tester.
Don't want to mention anything from the Open and NFL games?
Not really. 49ers lost. They've had a load of injuries now. Like they've they've just not lost Nicky Bosa. They've lost Jimmy Garoppolo. They've lost Solomon Thomas. They've lost George Kittle. Like, the best players on their team are going. They lost Deebo Samuel in the preseason. They've lost so many that it's going to be a rough season. So the less said about them, I think next I'll save NFL for next. We can do like a big wrap up of what's happened. But
I know you needed the football release this week.
Yes, so that's taken up a majority of the slate. But obviously, just a quick mention to congratulations to all the European teams that made it through in the rugby. Saracens overcame Owen Farrell's suspension.
Well, Toulouse, big win over Leinster Saris. That is honestly, that is a huge win. Like nobody expects that.
No, a massive win, but the bigger win came later in the day with. Well, not later in the day, sorry, today with Toulouse stomping Ulster 38-6.
That's a massive win.
They're just. It's going to be an amazing semi-finals because you've got obviously Saracens, you've got Racing, you've got Toulouse, and now you've got Exeter.
That is a crispy
easily the 4 best teams in Europe, and it's good to see them all. In the semis and all facing each other.
I think Exeter can win, man. I'm putting my money on Exeter.
Well, Exeter have got to go through Toulouse, so I think that's going to be a tough ask because Toulouse look different gravy.
I'll give. Actually, to be fair, but to me, I think the thing that is going with Exeter is the momentum. But they've had a couple of seasons of just being such a dominant team. They're probably sat there thinking, now is our time. Like, European Cup is ours now.
And I think it's going to be hard to pick against Saracens next Saturday, if I'm honest. But it depends. Is Farrell still be banned? Money for that?
He's got a 5-week suspension, so I think he'll still be banned.
I think it's just outside. Yeah, because I hope it is because what he did, he doesn't deserve to play for the rest of the season, if I'm honest.
No, well, obviously, me and Harry, you weren't there. The episode we discussed that.
Yeah.
And I said I think the ban needed to be longer because it really was a horror tackle. We've seen people banned for longer for much less. Yeah,
I get first offence and stuff, but I think it's a bit ridiculous.
We won't talk more about Farrell because I went in on Farrell last week and I spouted off a lot about Farrell. So
that was your release about that situation. So obviously we've got Sochi coming up next week.
I'm excited.
So hopefully,
even though I'm not a big fan of
in the F1
street races, if I'm honest.
No, and Sochi's is one of the worst on the calendar.
It is boring, Sochi.
But we've seen bad races turn good this season, so
true. Who knows? Very, very true.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Who do you think?
Lewis going for the record equaling.
Lewis is going to win, mate, because he'll park it on podium in quali, and then no one will be able to overtake him with the whole race.
He's not going to be outside. He's not going to be outside the top 2 or top 3. Let's be honest.
No, mate. We all at this point we know Lewis is parking it on the podium.
If we're honest, he's parking it pole. And unless Mercedes' car, which has had reliability issues, messes up again.
No, because you know what I think it is, right? Do you know what I think Sochi's going to suit him even more? It's because he'll park it in pole and quali, and then nobody will be able to overtake him. So you can just basically. It's not as bad as Monaco.
No, there's not too many.
But you can still.
There's a lot of crashes because it's narrow.
Yeah,
but. There's only like one line that you can take really. Yeah. So
well, run us through Sochi. Give us a bit of a taster of what we can expect, Dev.
Well, obviously we've had great races. I say great races. We've had okay races in the past, but like you said, there's a lot of narrow kind of winding sections. There's 2 big straights. They're like linked by a little corner. Then there's a massive like loop-in U section, and then after that, there's only 2 really real chances that you can overtake, and that's coming down the start finish through the big straight or down turn 10 towards turn 13. Apart from that, it's very tight, like 90-degree turns. So it's not the best race, but we have seen a lot of drama there before.
It's a bit boring. Hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of drama there before. So obviously famously the Battle of the Finns when Kimi Räikkönen and Bottas crashed into each other.
Oh yeah.
That was there. So there's been a load of accidents. So hopefully, I don't want to see accidents, but I want to see a bit of excitement. So
yeah, definitely.
Obviously, that's the one where Sainz had a massive off as well, and he couldn't compete in qualifying because he felt dizzy. So yeah. So anyway, onwards and upwards.
Yes, mate. So I think that just about wraps it up for us. We're a bit shorter than normal, about 50 minutes or so. But thank you very much if you have made it this far. We will be back again next week with, as we've said, Sochi, NFL, more Premier League. So make sure you tune back in, drop down below, hit the sub button, hit the like button, go to all our social medias, which are, what do they have?
At Everyday Pundits on Instagram, for some reason at Day Pundits on Twitter, and then Everyday Pundits on Facebook.
Yeah, man. So make sure you go and drop us a follow. And we shall see you next week. Cheers, Ev.
Thank you very much, Nath.